Welcome to the Michelle Roy Show.
Welcome to another Michelle Roy show. I'm delighted to have a dear friend of mine, Maria Gonçalves, all the way from Brazil. Now, we met back when we were missionaries as teenagers, and we bond over exercise, fitness, and of course, helping other people as well. So, Maria and I's path have changed. However, during her last stages in her life, she's been having a lot of different health problems, and we got in touch again. And I think her story of resilience will really inspire you. Maria is a business owner and also an English teacher, also known for her fitness enthusiast as Bikini Body in Brazil. And I would like for you to hear the story. But more than all, I want you to understand that our lives a lot of times can go through a lot of changes. But despite what we go through, we have the resilience inside of us to go through it and surpass anything that we might be experiencing. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here. I'm delighted to have you. Before we dive in, can you please give us a little bit of a background of your life before you ended up in hospital and your life completely changed? What was Maria like as a businesswoman? And let's not mention the, not forget to mention the enthusiast body beach model. Can you take us back there?
Yes, absolutely. Michelle, it's an honor to be here in your show and to be able to share my story. So, I opened this school 9 years ago. It's an English school for teenagers, and our focus is teaching through hands-on and real-life experiences. But we also don't worry just about developing their English skills. We're very concerned about their personal growth. And like you said, I even in my school, my students know me as the fit girl. It was so obvious as everywhere I go, people know that I'm very passionate about working out, about eating healthy. I often went to school with a cup of uh, tea, always with tea and different herbs, and explain to students why this is so important. Clean out your body, and I highly promoted this lifestyle of exercising, of being fit, of drinking lots of water, of eating well. And even though I promoted that as a healthy lifestyle, deep inside, it was always about the aesthetics, really concerned about the aesthetics. So I started working out as a teenage girl. I was 14 years old. We did some dance classes together. We would jog and run, do all those things. But eventually, with time, I just became a gym addict. Okay. I was always at the gym. It was my priority. And it became such an obsession to me that one day I just, looking at these different competitions and all these girls lifting weights and bodybuilding. And I say, no, I can do that. That's going to be me. And I wrote myself up to be a beach model. And I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be in the first place. And I had that as a high goal and priority in my life. So even with a very, very busy schedule, I made time for the gym, no matter how late it was at night. If I was tired, if I was just exhausted from work, I didn't skip gym. And I was lifting weight, and doing lots of cardio and constantly posting about that. And so, yeah, that's it until it was 2023. My competition was supposed to be November of 2023, but things just changed 2 months prior to that. And I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially just to give context to our listeners, Brazil, especially if you're in Rio, I mean, you have to have a perfect body.
Yeah,
You're just known for it. And ever since I remember you, I've always had a beautiful body and you're very fit,
thank you.
amazing. And energy you always had, it was amazing too. But prior to you going to becoming sick, now if you're looking back,
Mhm.
what were the different signs that your body had before you ended up in hospital?
So I had a couple of signs. The first one really was in September 2023. Again, like I said, I had this goal. I needed to be on stage in November. I had 2 months to work my body. And one day I went to the gym. I was feeling not feeling well. I was feeling sick. I just went to the gym. I knew I had to finish to complete that. I had a goal. I even asked my coach, like, is it okay if I push myself? Because I see the people pushing themselves sick. I see how they go through extremes.
Yeah.
They had 3 hours of sleep the night before, but they're still going to the gym. And I thought, I need to go. I need to push my way through. I left the gym miserable, miserable, miserable. Fell sick in bed. It was a Friday, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna recover during the weekend. Monday, I'll be back. but that's not what happened. It just like the fever continued and continued and continued and continued. And I realized there's something wrong right there. But you know, still thought it was a flu or a virus. One day lying in bed, I put my hand on my tummy and I felt a huge lump. And I freaked out because I thought it was a hernia from excessive weightlifting. And I was told this is a hernia. You got to get the surgery. Went to the emergency and they did confirm it was a hernia and they just put me through. They were ready to put me through the surgery. But after going to a few doctors and doing a couple exams, I discovered it was endometriosis. I had a endometriosis all over my body, but especially on my left ovary. I went to many doctors, Michelle. I did all kinds of exams you can imagine, but I had what they call is like a mysterious fever. It's it was like an unknown cause for the fever. After all the exams, the endometriosis in itself does not cause a fever, so we actually never found out what that fever was. So I was treated with several antibiotics, and I was sick for 25 days, literally in bed, fatigue, nausea, weight loss. I wasn't eating. It was very, very, very serious. But I was so desperate to be healed so I could go back to the stage. All I was concerned was like the muscle loss, and I'm not looking beautiful anymore aesthetically. And took all those antibiotics. And as soon as I felt a little better, I was just right back at the gym because I had to make up for that lost time. It was
Yes.
25 days. Went right
Wow.
back to in 45 days, I was back in shape again.
So you had one mission in mind.
That was the first sign, but I kind of ignored that. I was like, my goal was just to get healthy again, no fever, so I could back at the gym. That was the first sign.
Okay.
A couple of months later, just a couple of months later, going to the gym at night. It was late. I was tired. I was listening to music, distracted. I was just about to cross the street to go to the gym, and I was hit by a motorbike. It was a huge, it was not like I was flipped over to another car. Found myself lying in the asphalt with blood running through my face. People around me, the policemen were just trying to slow the traffic around me. They called the rescuers.
Mm.
As soon as I was in the truck ready to go to the hospital, I thought like, what is happening to me? What is this? Like just a couple of months ago, I was so sick in bed. Now I'm hit by a motorbike. I could not I did not make it to the first competition, which was November 20th, 2023. But the next one was no, sorry, May 2023. And I was hit by a motorbike on the 25th of April.
Okay.
So I was so close to my dream. And then I got hit by a motorbike. So it didn't happen the first time because I didn't have enough time to prepare. My coach said, "You're not ready. You're not
Mm.
ready. You can't compete right now." I said, "Okay, we're going to make it the next year." And then I got hit by a motorbike. And that was like my second sign. And my only concern was like, I need to get healed quickly so I can get the body ready for the competition.
So basically, the whole time it was just mind over matter. Whatever my body's
Yes,
doing, let's just keep pushing
yes,
this. You had a goal, and that
yes.
was it, right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
one thing that really crashed me was when I broke a rib, and the doctor said, I said, "Doctor, when can I work out? When can I go back to the gym?" He said, "You got to wait 2 to 3 months."
Wow.
And the first thing I was devastated with that information, but going home, I thought my body heals quickly because I'm super healthy. In a month, I'm going to be back at the gym. I
Mm.
just thought, okay, it's going to be 4 weeks home. I'm going to start pushing my weight again. I want disregarding what he was saying. But a week and a half after that, I was still recovering. I still had, sores and bruises all over my body. I was hit with a fever again. And it was that the same situation from September 2023. Fever, fatigue, nausea, loss of appetite, extreme weakness. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't take a shower. And then that's when I started to listen to my body because I said, this is repeating. This is the situation that I lived before, ignored, and it's back. Whatever happened to me back in September 2023, I knew it was the same thing again. I knew that there was a serious thing going on inside of me that I needed to pay attention to.
So what time
That's
are we
what
in
started
right
to
now?
slow down.
This is beginning of 2024, correct?
2020, yeah. So
Okay.
this was when the fever was back again. It was May 2024.
Okay.
Then I started going through all this investigation again to try to figure out. That's when I started to understand, like, stop, whatever. your mind is accelerated, you're pushing towards your goal, but here you are lying sick in bed, useless.
Mm.
It had been already like 20 days that I wasn't at the gym, couldn't go to the gym, and it was 35 days in bed with that fever and fatigue and nausea and hair loss and weight loss and just useless in bed.
Just to
Useless.
go back, just a quick mention here. All I'm hearing here is the gym, the gym, the gym. So for you, the
Yeah.
gym was such an identity, right, for yourself.
Yes.
Like all that you wanted to get better is, of course, you have your job and everything else you want to get better at. But the main focus for you personally was to get fit because you have
Absolutely.
something to go
The
to.
gym was in the was up like a pedestal in my life. There was
Mm,
nothing really. And I would do this devotional because I didn't want to be so like, I need to start my day with prayer, with gratitude, with thanksgiving. But I jumped off from bed after like 15, 20 minutes into a devotional. And I had my mat on the ground where I was doing like this massive stretch because I needed to prepare my body for the workout and doing all these breathing techniques to make my tummy look slimmer and better. And that was it. And drinking lots of water because it makes the skin look, tighter and hydrated. It was that.
yeah.
So it wasn't a pedestal. It's top priority in my life.
And when did you agree to finally go to the hospital? Can you bring us to that after 35 days of fever?
To be honest with you, I did not agree. I was pushed and forced by my doctor because I finally was recommended a very, very good doctor. She's an infectologist. She says fever is the cause of fever is an infection. We need to find out where the infection is. And she was very serious and she was, very worried about me. Every time I went to her clinic, I had lost a kilo or two. I was thinner and the fever was not going away. So she asked several exams for me. I did those exams. I returned to her and she still could not see the cause. And she said, I'm going to hospitalize you because it's your life. And I looked at her, I said, no, please don't do that. Please don't do this. I said, I will. And she started preparing all the paperwork I said, no, I need to go home. No, from here, you're going to the hospital.
Mm,
So I fought her. I even said, I knew what she said was very serious, that she was really concerned. So I listened to her, but I said, let me please go home and get ready and get my things ready. And she allowed me to. She says, I'm trusting that you're going to be back. I want you at the hospital. And she did all the paperwork for my transfer there. And she forced me in.
okay.
So because she said, inside the hospital, we'll get all these exams done faster. And we can't waste time anymore. You're at the risk that, of going, this is very serious. So she hospitalized me. And then 2 weeks later is when the worst news came. I
Okay.
thought I was going to leave there very quickly. I was like, okay, quickly find whatever it is that's on me and let's go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't taking it that seriously. Wasn't taking it that seriously.
So then can you bring us into what happened then when you are 2 weeks later? Bring us again to what happened to you. First, you've been ignoring it all along. Now you're
Mhm.
fine. Okay, I'm going to do this. But in the back of your mind is you still want to be able to get to that gym. You still want to be able to get to that fitness and that you mean your beach body was very important for you,
Mhm.
right? It's your identity. But just walk us through now what the doctors did and how did you end up having to do surgery and how that happened.
Yeah. So when I finally surrendered and I realized how serious everything was that was happening in my body since that September, the beginning of September on the 2023rd, I was submitted to a scan and I felt something strange. Like doctors were talking around me, and then they brought in a surgery and they said, we're going to do a surgery on you right now. And I said, wait, what? I said, what kind of surgery? Said, we're going to remove your ovary and your fallopian tube and whatever else is inside of you. It's going to be an exploratory surgery. I said, no. First, I said, how is the surgery done? How is the cut?
Mm,
Because for the aesthetics of the beach model, the tummy is the big thing that they look at. And he said how big the cut was going to be. It was basically cut my stomach open, my tummy open, the entire thing. And I said, no, no, that is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Started to cry, cry, cry. I panicked. People were around me trying to calm me down. And he just looked me in the eye and said, you're at the risk of losing your life. This is a life and death situation. Please listen to me. And trying to tell me, wake me up to the importance of the surgery. And all I said is like, where's the document that I can sign, taking responsibility for leaving with this risk and just going, I want to go home. Give me the paper.
Wow.
Was really, I was an emotional wreck. All I could do was cry and said, "Get me out of this hospital." I was about to run.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll treat that later. I'll treat that with this infection with antibiotics. I'll figure it out, but I'm not going to go through the surgery.
Do you think you were delirious as well with the fever? Partly.
Partly, I was so exhausted. It was 35 days sick, my hair falling, my nails. I was so weak. I wasn't eating. I lost like so many kilos. I was very thin, fragile. I was emotionally fragile. I actually couldn't stand it anymore. I wanted a resolution for the problem. I didn't want it to be a surgery. And what saved my life actually is that a friend showed up at that moment. I was messaging my parents. We have a family, a group, uh, on WhatsApp, a family group, and I was crying, saying, "I want to get out of here. They're gonna come. I'm leaving. I don't care." I was just panicking. I wasn't thinking straight. This friend knocked some sense into me. He looked and said, "Maria, this is your life. Like you're debating, your emotions are not the priority right now. I understand how you feel, but." He made me realize that I could die,
Mm.
and he started to call. I started looking at him and I thought, he's coming from the outside and he's seeing the situation. I'm a mess right now. I'm thinking aesthetics. And I just calmed myself and I remembered I have children to raise. And
Yeah.
then I remembered that I have my own life too that is very valuable. And I was starting to understand that things were happening in my life for a reason. And I was just fighting it all along. And whatever I had to go through, I needed to go through. So in the midst of lots of tears, I said yes to that surgery, and we went ahead to do the surgery immediately. This was like a 15-minute struggle, wrestling, crying.
Mm.
And then I felt something inside of me like saying, there's no way out of the situation. You could, if you die, this is on you. Like you facilitated that. So let's just move on with this and let's do what we have to do.
So this is the first surgery that you have to have, right? So
Yeah.
they were what they were doing. They were removing the endometriosis from.
Yes, it was explained. They removed my, and the thing is, back in September when I did those scans and realized I had endometriosis, the doctor then, which was another one, he recommended surgery to remove my ovary. And
Mm.
I
Mm.
disregarded that because I thought I don't have the time for that. Like the recovery time, staying in the bed, I have to work. I also made money in other ways. And I thought if I stop that, no money comes in. So I was like, no, money needs to come in. I'm not going to stop my work. Nobody can replace me at school. And I pushed that surgery. I ignored it. I thought I could, with some medication, figure out a way around it. So I ignored it 8 months before that. I
Okay.
ignored it. Then I said, this is it again. And it just grew a lot from September until May. My ovary was bigger than an orange and it was at the risk of exploding at any time. It was so big, it was at the risk of exploding if I fell off a stairs or something like that. So he removed my ovary, my fallopian tube, but he also scraped off endometriosis from different parts of my body. My bladder and my rectum were parts that were very chronic, full of endometriosis.
Mm.
And so 6 months into that surgery, which was very delicate and very risky because they scraped off from endometriosis from lots of parts of my
Parts, yeah.
organs. So my whole belly, all my organs swelled up a lot. I was like a balloon. It was very painful. The cut was very big. And I lost a lot of blood. I had to have blood transfusions. I was throwing up all the time. I was so weak at the hospital. I couldn't move. My mom had to shower me. I couldn't talk. I didn't sleep for nights. I'd
Mm.
sleep 2, 3 hours a day. A couple of days still in that hospital, going through so much physical and emotional pain.
Mm.
A nurse shows up and I had a bag that would drain the fluids from the surgery on my
Yeah.
tummy. And that's a normal thing after you do a
Mhm.
surgery. But she looked at that bag and said, "What is this?" The color in the bag was dark and it was very thick, whatever was coming out of it. And
Mm.
she said, "This isn't normal." She called the doctor. The doctor came with two other doctors. It was actually three doctors. They looked at it and they said, "You're going to the surgery room right now." And he explained me the problem, and I was so heartbroken, so devastated, so devastated. I first panicked, thought I was going to die. They're going to cut my whole tummy open again. Am I going to make it this time? Well, the thing is that in my rectum where they scraped off a lot of endometriosis, there was a fistula. It opened a fistula. So there was no communication between the intestine and the rectum.
Mm.
So the feces was going down the intestines, and just when it got to the rectum, it threw it in my tummy. It wasn't going, they weren't communicating rectum and intestine. So it was
Mm.
throwing all the feces inside of my tummy for over 24 hours. So I could have a bad
You could have
inflammation.
sepsis, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was serious. And so they rushed me. And then the worst thing he said is, uh, your rectum needs to heal and it could take a couple of months. So during this time, we are going to have to exteriorize a part of your intestine. And that's when like my whole world fell apart. Like how humiliating could that be for me to walk around with a colostomy bag?
Mm.
But really cried. And I think that
You had no option as
thinking,
well, right?
I had no option. I had thinking about that. But the worst thing is like I just knew it. I was not, there's nothing I could do. I have feces all over my body. I need to get that cleaned out before I die. So I'm at the mercy of these doctors. They have to do whatever they have to do. But I was shaking in fear. I was shaking. I thought I could die. My blood pressure is so low. I'm having blood transfusions. I'm so fragile. And the thing that panicked me the most was that next door to where I was laying, my sister lay for 23 days and passed away in that hospital. And I'm thinking, I'm here lying now for a week. I'm going to go to another surgery. I don't know how long, how many other days I'll have to be here. I'm so weak. I've already been sick for 35 days.
Mm.
With, I have no vitamins in my body. My iron is low. I'm so weak. I could not make it.
Yeah.
Started to really, really shake. And that's when the real surrender came at that time. And I was like, okay, God, there's nothing in me anymore. There's no strength in me. It just has to be you. I'm panicking right now. And I said, and then I made a prayer. I said, Lord, uh, I want to live. I want to help. I want to raise my children. I want to help my mom raise the children of my sister who passed away because we lived together. But however, not my will be done, but yours. And this has been my prayer up until now. Not my will, not what I want, but what you want, what you think is best for me.
Yeah.
And I said, would you just hold my hand and be with me in this surgery because I'm freaking out. And
Mm.
I just felt peace from that moment on. There was peace inside of me, absolute peace.
So you went then for your second surgery?
Second surgery, a long surgery, it wasn't a short one. Came
And
out of
this
it
one, yeah.
worse. 24 hours without speaking, without opening my eyes. It was,
Yeah, your body was really fighting it. And
yeah,
also the emotional part, like I can hear it in your voice as well. The tummy was such an important part, especially for the bikini body
yes,
competition. So not only once was it open, but now it's gone for the second time. And then when you wake up, can you bring us to what happened? How did you see yourself as the nurses
yes.
have been addressing you?
So just was lying still for like 24 hours, wasn't talking. It was a very risky surgery. I had all kinds of tubes inside of me. I wasn't breathing well. And I just the first thing I did was I would lift up my blanket to see my tummy, and I could see that little intestine outside,
Mm.
like a living organ outside of me. And I looked at that, not knowing how long I would have that for, how would I would work around that, and how was going to be my life. It was a moment where I said, again, I was thinking, Lord, you allowed this to happen to me for a reason. Things just don't happen to you, they happen for you. And there is a reason that this is happening to my life. And I just want to be open to whatever it is. I don't want to fight it anymore. I want to use this. This is my life and this is happening to me right now. I'm going to face it the best way I can and, grow from this experience.
Well, Maria, that's so much strength to say, I mean, I know you from before. You always had a really strong spirit, very strong determination as well. But you even just see that, a lot of times, even the listeners that are probably listening to us today, they probably had some life transforming event happen and they can
Mhm,
question as to what's happening to me. Why is this happening to me? I know for myself, that's something that I had
mhm.
to work through and surrender. But it isn't easy. And it's not like, okay, I can do this right
Yes.
away. It takes steps, isn't it? So, like, if you were to walk us back, so here you are, you had the surgery,
Mhm,
you had to put on hold your idea of being a beach model, and this is not going
mhm.
there, right? But just looking at yourself as somebody that loved her body, right? You love, and you have had a beautiful Brazilian body, right? That typical amazing body with the nice flat tummy,
Yes.
all of that. But then you having to adjust to that afterwards. So in the hospital, of course, it was extremely difficult, and you were able to really take a hold of God. I think what you're saying
Mhm.
there is that you surrender to Him. And I think that's beautiful because a lot of times we need to let go for him to be able to help us or for us to find our strength
Yes.
somewhere, right? So I can see that you really
Hmm.
found your strength in him. But when you got back home, can you explain to us a little bit of how you had to deal with that? Because I'm sure looking back at your pictures wasn't easy seeing who Maria was
No,
before and who
no,
Maria is
no.
now.
No, before a little before the surgery, I was already Googling what a colostomy bag looked like and what an exterior intestine looked like because I needed 2 hours. I needed to go on a 4 hour diet before getting in the surgery. And I was looking at that and looking at all those tummies, and I said, "This is so ugly." You know, that's the only thing I could think. But at the same time, I was thinking, people go through this, and life
Mm,
goes on, and they are still married, and they still, can have a boyfriend, find a girlfriend, they can still go to the beach. So, but it was devastating, devastating. Okay. And when I looked at my intestine out and I had my phone with me and I went through some of my photos of training to be a beach model, all those bikini photos, and I cried. I really did cry. I cried. I said, and I took a lot of selfies, a lot of photos in front of the mirror. I have hundreds of these photos, hundreds.
mm,
Just cried at the hospital, so thinking, I will never have this again. I will never have this body again. I will never have two big scars on my tummy,
mm,
one like this and one like this for the intestine. It's ugly. It takes up half of my tummy. I will never be able to post with a bikini. I will never. And I showed myself off a lot on Instagram.
mhm.
I showed myself. I used to do abs and then show my tummy how I would show it. I would say, look, this is like my tummy
It was
before
beautiful.
and after, and how flat and it was so painful. I just cried. I cried. And then when I went back home, so I cried that one time at the hospital. I put away my phone. I said, I can't afford to keep crying. I'm so sensitive right now. I need to heal and I got to stop crying. When I got back home, I saw that I was right in front of a big mirror that I have. For the first time I saw myself in the mirror, there were no mirrors at the hospital. I could see myself looking down, but looking to yourself at the mirror is like, hello, this is you.
Mm,
I saw myself at the mirror again. I took my shower and I laid in bed, and the first day did the same thing, started looking at photos of myself in bikini, started crying. But
mm,
at that very moment I said, you know what? I cannot dwell on what is not anymore. This is who I am now. And I just have to reframe my perspective on my view now. My life will never be that one again. The more I cry about it, the worse it will be for me to go through this. So this is my idea now.
mm,
From this point on, what do I have to show and offer people? What do I have to share? It
yeah.
used to be my body, and that made me start looking inside of myself and valuing much more my interior than my exterior because my hair felt, Michelle, from the all these medication and it just half of 50% was off. I would take a shower and it would come off of my hands. I was pale because I still had my iron was very low. I was like 10 kilos. Uh, I lost 10 kilos, so I was looking really, really, really thin.
Yeah.
I was ugly. My children looked at me and they were shocked. They said, Mom, look at you. I was skin and bones. Michelle, I wanted to take a picture to keep it, but I didn't have the courage. When I look at the picture, every time I deleted it because I couldn't recognize myself. I was so skinny and ugly. What
Yeah.
Instagram post am I going to do now?
Mm,
There are no
right.
more posts about myself. So I started looking at like, what would I share to be? What would people see in me? Because there's nothing beautiful now anymore.
Mm,
And so that was a shift in my life. Like, okay, I don't want to. It's not my body more that I want to show. And that's when I started to look at other areas in my life. Start looking
mm.
more inside myself, trying to
And I
figure out
And I
who am
think
I
yeah, and I think that's very beautiful
now.
because your identity was always wrapped up on this
Yeah.
fitness,
Mhm.
enthusiast that you were as
Yeah.
well. But I think going down to the core, because you are a beautiful soul, Maria, and always been, but now you're able to
Thank
actually
you.
see it more because it's just able to shine. And I'm sure if anybody will see us on YouTube, they will be able to recognize that as well. It's not our bodies or the different
Mhm.
things, it's really our character, our strength and resilient
Yes.
inside of us
Yes.
that
Yes.
that's
Yes.
important, right? And when you went back to starting to work, which is, of course, this is all transitions, and
Hmm.
you now have a colonoscopy bag. Can you just bring me back to how it was with children, explaining even adapting to a colonoscopy bag?
Okay. So at the hospital, the first time I removed the colostomy bag from my tummy, I didn't know how to put it back.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to get all the support from the nurses, but you have to figure it out yourself. It was a struggle washing. The first time that the bag was full and I saw that happening, it was very shocking. I had trouble. It took 1 hour almost, or even more maybe, to clean my bag and go back to bed. It was very, very strange, very difficult. I figured that out and I realized this is so new to me. And even laying at the hospital, I would hear like these at I think the second day into the surgery, I heard this loud noise of gas, of a fart coming out. And my mom was next to me. She jumped and I jumped. And that was unexpected. Nobody told me I was gonna go through that.
Mm,
And of course, from the surgery, you have a lot of gases inside of you that need to come out. And they were coming out loud
mm,
and unexpectedly. And I said, this is real humiliation. And then I asked the doctor about it, asked the nurse, and they said, no, this is normal. Whatever comes out, if it's feces or gases, it's involuntary. It doesn't announce. It just comes out. And so when I got back home, I told my mom, I told everybody from the school, listen, I can't show up. And I thought it was gonna be like a 2 month staying home and everything would be healed and I would be right back to normal life again.
yeah.
I realized it was not really that. It could take 6 months, it could take 9 months, it could take a year. But initially, I thought I'm going to be locked inside my house for 2 months. I'm not going to show myself to the world.
Mm,
And it was our summer break here in Brazil. When I came out of the hospital, it was férias.
yeah.
Okay. And I said, good. That's like going to be a total of 30 days. And I'll just like have someone replace me for a month and I'm going to be back when I don't have this colostomy bag anymore. But then deep inside, I was thinking, there you go again. You're pushing your will. It's
Mm,
trying to get things done your way.
yeah.
This is your new reality. What if you had to live for the rest of your life with it or for 3 years? Some people have it for 3 years, for 5 years. Something inside of me said, my gut was telling me, confront the situation. It's all a part of who you are now.
Mm,
Don't hide what's happening to you. And so the first day of school, I showed up. I said, Lord, this is humiliating. It's very humbling. The school is full. My students are teenagers. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to talk around. They're going to meme or anyone else, my friends, but I can't hide. This is my reality. I need to show up. So I showed up and I made a class about it. My first day of school, I told the students everything that happened to me. They were impressed. They were silent. They were respectful. I showed a video on YouTube of what is a colostomy bag and why people have to use that and turn it into a learning experience for them because this is what the school is all about. I
yeah.
explained them, I'm really sorry, the bag may get filled up and I have to run to my house, which is next door,
Mm,
or there will be smell. There's a smell. It's uncomfortable. Sometimes I have a lot of gases and it just will come out. You're going to hear a sound, but this is normal. People go through this,
yeah.
and they were so respectful and so empathetic. It was such a good learning moment for them. And it did happen. There were times okay, guys, excuse me, got to run to the bathroom. Started to confront that. Even first day at home with my nephew, I was sitting with my nephew having lunch, and boom, this big noise it comes, and he looks at me in shock. And I said, "Oh, sorry." I'm explaining to everyone this is what happens when someone uses a colostomy bag. It's just stuff coming out, and everybody, my children, my nephews, my brothers and sisters, my mom, my students, parents of the students, started to understand that and showed a lot of love.
Yeah,
And I
basically you
realized it's not that
normalized
hard
it.
after all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you normalize the conversation. And I think that's so important because a lot of times when we're going through chronic pain or invisible illness, we don't know
Mm,
how to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. But at the same
yes,
time, if we're able to educate other people on what we're going through, it helps them to be able to have compassion or have a little bit more
exactly.
empathy, right? And understanding for you. So I can
Absolutely. Yeah.
so for you it was a lot of crushing moments at the same time, right? In between
Oh
it
yeah,
all.
wearing a dress. Sometimes my friends would call me out. I don't want to go, but then I said I can't be locked inside the house.
Mm,
And it shows because my the surgery and the colostomy bag was my intestine constantly swelled up and it just would grow so big inside of the bag that if I removed it to wash it, I couldn't put it back on. And it grew really, really big. It felt like half of my intestine was out. It would hang out. It would hang
wow.
almost touching my thighs, like my legs. And
Mm,
there was not a single clothes that I could wear that wouldn't show a big thing like on my tummy. People could clearly, a lot of times I was putting my tummy in and wearing large t-shirts trying to hide.
Mm,
But slowly but surely, I started wearing. I say, no, who cares? I started wearing the normal clothes, and if there's something my tummy it's strange, people will look at me. Yes, but if they want to come and ask, I can tell them. So I started to go out, go to places, go to church, go to a walk at the beach with a t-shirt, and it really did show like there was something there, like a big thing. But
mm.
slowly but surely, I started to like not mind these things and to live a normal life.
What is the biggest lesson that you have learned through this experience, Maria?
A couple of lessons. One of them really was not to emphasize physical health over mental and spiritual health. Those have to be uh, all in line together. And no matter how much you train your muscles, no matter how much you train and how strong you look physically, if you don't train your spirit, you're weak. I
Mm,
realized how much I neglected my spiritual growth and even my mental health over just the physical health. So that's one thing. I also learned more about slowing down, a lot about patience, just waiting on God's timing. I understand that I don't have control over everything that happens in my life, but I can trust the one that does know. Learn about sharing, learn about sharing, learn about caring more. I realize that I'm living in this earth to serve and love. It's the things that I want to be known for. I don't want to be known anymore as the beach model girl. Like I want to be known. I want to leave a legacy of service. It's
beautiful.
in the end of our lives, we're gonna die, and what's gonna stay is what we do for others. So I'm much more now thinking about what can I do for society, for my community, for my family? How can I love? How can I spread hope? How can I encourage? How can I be a light in this darkness more than just being known for that fit girl with a perfect body? That's not my priority more. And this is not to say that, you know, I will never work out again. It's not important to work out. It's okay to work out, to train your bodies, to want to look beautiful aesthetically. But I think not at the neglect of your beauty inside.
Mm,
This is what's more important to the world. What the world needs is not beautiful bodies. There are hundreds of these around. They
mm.
need people that care. They need people that show love. And this is to me my priority now. Absolutely 100%.
That's beautiful. That's really nice. And I can see that. I mean, you literally radiate light and love. And it's a beautiful thing to see the journey that you've been through. And for what's your relationship right now with your body? How do you show love to yourself? Because it isn't easy. And I don't want to take it for granted that for years your identity had been around your body. And now here you are looking at yourself with these scars. You can't go back to what you had to. So, how do you show love and concern for
Yes.
yourself?
It's a major shift on how I see myself.
Mm,
When I look at my scars, I am so thankful. I thank God. I wouldn't have it another way if I could go back and choose not to go through this, through all of this. I would have said, no, let me go through this because this changed my character. It molded me into someone better.
mm,
So I look at my scars in the mirror and I see that all the pain I went through, the suffering just brought me growth and strength.
mm,
And when I look at my scars, I say, you have a story to tell. You have a story to tell people, so many people to share. So you can impact people's lives on this that happened to you. So I look at it with a lot of love and grace. As I say, this transformed my entire life. This turned me into someone new. It
mm.
brought 100% renewal to me. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful. Doesn't look pretty, but this is what I'm not more the pretty, the aesthetics is not my priority. No, it's the beauty inside. So even though it doesn't look beauty, there's a story to tell. There's a beautiful story in these scars to say.
Yeah, for sure. And also just the part of learning to deal with something new, like you're saying about the colostomy bag. Can you bring me to, or our listeners to, one of the samples of what did you learn from that? As in, what are different things that people who are new, just got a colostomy bag, or what are the things that you were grateful for and that you learned through that experience?
So it just helps you think more of others,
Mm,
have more empathy towards others, more patience.
yeah.
There's so many people in this world with several different disease or chronic pain or disabilities. And we when unless we go through something like that, we don't understand their world properly.
Absolutely. So
And
true.
immediately, that's the first thing I said when I went out. I traveled to Rio. I had to take my son somewhere, and on the road, I needed to change my bag. I needed this and I needed, I was in pain. I was bleeding on the side, and there was no place. Like no place is adapted for me. I had to adapt to this new situation. I had to figure it out alone. Actually, the first time I went to the shopping mall, wanted to buy some a present for someone. It was a short. I thought I could risk it. I could risk. I could go out quickly, and my bag just started to fill up unexpectedly, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I went to the bathroom. I can't wash it. There's no shower. So I bought a bottle of water, and I was thinking, I think that this isn't enough. I should have bought like a liter of water. What do I do now? Very uncomfortable,
Mm.
but also makes me think like there's so many people around the world living in situations similar to mine. It made my eyes open and just feel love for these people,
Yeah.
and, just be able to understand them more. And
Yeah.
I really think it's important to talk about it because I have a nephew, two nephews that are autistic. One of them has severe autism.
Mm.
Okay, he's not nonverbal. He wears diapers, and clearly you can see he's autistic. But the other one, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
You can't really see the signs. And so he'll say something off. He's like very tall, but he's only 10. He looks like he's 14, but he'll say something off, and people look at him like, how disrespectful. Like, are you the mother? You don't raise your son well, or whatever. And once they know that he has special needs,
Mm.
it changes how they view your behavior, your attitude. So talking about it is really important. That's why I want to talk about my experience with my colostomy. It wasn't easy. It was embarrassing. It was humbling. It was difficult. It was painful. But the more we talk about it, the more we bring awareness, the more people can understand us, and life's just
Absolutely.
easier for us.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show as well, and why I'm
Mhm.
trying to share this show so that other people can
Mhm.
feel heard, that they can be
Yes.
educated as well and understand the struggles that people are facing because we judge people by outward appearance,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And that's
Mhm.
something that we really need to be careful about. But there are struggles, and having that compassion, having that understanding, and seeing where they're coming through, a lot of times we don't want to go through that road. Definitely don't want to,
Yes.
but it gives it that perspective that it helps us to see people in a new light. I always say when somebody
Mhm.
is in traffic and going too fast or being crazy, I always try to picture, well, they're probably trying to get to the hospital. God be with them. It
Mhm.
helps me to reframe it instead of like, you crazy idiot. We don't know what they're going through. We really
Yes.
don't. So maybe they are trying to get to the hospital. I mean, we don't know. Maybe they're not. But for me, it just helps me to have that little bit more compassion, understanding on people,
Yes.
giving them the benefit of the doubt. So
Yeah,
just for us to
absolutely.
wrapping it up, Maria, I'll probably have to get you on the show again because it's been amazing hearing all the stories. I mean, it's difficult all you went through, but you were able to do a third surgery, right? To reverse.
Yes.
Yes. So and this is like something that's really recent as well, right? So now you're back to not needing a bag anymore. But this is what, 5 months into it?
Yes, 5 months into I had to use that colostomy bag for 5 months.
Yeah.
Did my surgery last year, November 14th. It's 2 months now. And I still have endometriosis. It's something that I will have for the rest of my life. And I never know, what could happen next.
Right.
But definitely this experience made me stronger. And I'm ready for whatever it is to come. Whatever. It may not be an affliction like a disease or a surgery. It could be something else, but I'm certain of one thing. Some pain is designed to reveal the start of something new.
Absolutely. I mean, that's
Pain,
beautiful.
just it's a start. It can be a new podcast. It can be a new business. It can be anything, but new things come from pain. And as much as pain hurts, it helps us grow. That's what we have to have in mind. It will hurt, but it will also make you grow.
Yeah. And actually, I would like to ask you this one question. What would
Mhm.
you say to someone who's struggling right now with something physical that happened in their body and a physical appearance, a major change in their life? What would you say to that person?
I would say accept it and embrace that change. The
Mm.
sooner you do this, the easier it will be for you to go through that.
Wow.
Just accept. Don't fight it. Fighting will make you feel miserable. It will destroy you. But when you embrace it, accept that change, and surrender to all that growth and the beautiful things that will come, that are going to come from it, you're going to see that it is a good thing. What sounds like a bad thing, it's going to be good in the end. It will make you stronger. Trust me.
That's
And also
beautiful.
share your story. Share your story. If you're going through something difficult, Don't be afraid to talk. A lot of people that are going through pain and suffering in their lives, they're seeking for answers. They're Googling information. How do I get the pain is so big, you just want relief, and you're going to go to a podcast, you're going to go to a YouTube video, or to anyone that's sharing how they overcame that. So I'm very impacted by testimonies, by stories.
Mhm.
I'm very impacted. I've been sharing Michelle's podcast to my friends.
Thank you.
It is important. It helps people. Trust me, it helps people. So share your story.
Thank you very much. And so, what's with Maria now going forward, Maria? What's a new purpose and vision that you have for your life?
Yeah, so moving forward with my life, I have some things that I really want to do. It's been God's been laying in my heart to do some volunteer work ministry. I've been thinking about the hospital.
Okay,
I've been thinking about visiting the hospitals and seeing how I can bring hope to people there.
that's beautiful.
My mom was recently, a couple months ago, 2 3 months ago, she had to stay in the hospital for a few days because of an infection. Next to her lay a woman, a young woman who fell off a horse, had a stroke, and now she can't talk or walk. And my heart went out for her so much. I had so much love for her, and I felt from that moment, I said, I want to go talk to these people. I want to be able to go hug them and do something for these people. This is something that's been inside my heart recently. Been thinking about also doing some volunteer work, a shelter here for children and teenagers. I feel like the more I give my life to others, the less I look inside myself. I'm here again in this earth to just be of service to others in love. I'm gonna die, and I want my legacy to be. This is my new legacy now. I don't want to hold I don't want to hold the first place from a beach model, like on the stage.
Yeah.
I want my legacy to be service and love.
That's beautiful. And Maria, I'm sure you're going to do it because look, this is what you're
Thank
doing
you.
right now. You're sharing your story and you're being so candid about it. And I'm sure everybody that's listening to this can really connect with you as I'm connecting with your message. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your light, sharing what you're going through so that others can have
Thank
a
you.
possibility of a better world.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You're very welcome. May God bless you. And guys,
Amen.
please look,
Amen.
I'll have pictures as well on YouTube. So if you want to follow and see more pictures of Maria and the transformation she's gone through and how she's so resilient. So just keep being this amazing woman that you are, Maria, because you are a force to be reckoned with. I love
Thank
you
you.
lots.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Thank
Thank you.
you.
God bless you too, Michelle. Bye.
Bye bye.
This was the Michelle Roy Show.